Hey there folks, welcome to the channel. I'm glad you could make it because in today's episode, we are finally making the Mennonite sausage. This is a sausage we've been wanting to make for quite some time, and I was very happy to receive a recipe through the Two Guys in a Cooler subreddit from a Redditor named Danger's Squid. This recipe is a beautiful modernization of a classic Mennonite sausage that guarantees to deliver maximum flavor. Let's make it. Let's talk about the casing. We're going to be using a 32-35 millimeter hog casing that we got from the sausage maker to make this Mennonite sausage, but truth is you could use whatever casing you have. This comes salt pack, and in order to get these casings ready, all you got to do is separate the amount of casings that you want. I like to do one at a time. Give it a quick rinse that gets rid of the salt on the outside, and then give it a flush. Basically, you're going to fill that sausage casing up with water. That's going to get rid of the salt on the inside, but it's also going to help stretch out that casing. So you're basically going to fill it up like a little balloon. Once you've got your water in there, squeeze it out with your thumb and your forefinger. Basically, you're just emptying the water from inside the casing, and your casing is just about ready. At this point, all we want to do is add a little cool water to a cup and let your casing soak in that water. That's going to help tenderize your casing. And what I typically like to do at this step is add a little baking soda to that water. This is completely optional and does nothing for the tenderness, but it does make the casing nice and slippery, which reduces casing blowout and helps if you have any knots. At this point, I'm going to stick it in my refrigerator overnight. So I like to soak the casing for at least 12 hours for maximum tenderness. When it comes to the meat for this Mennonite sausage, the recipe that we're using here states that this is a 100% pork sausage. So we're just going to be using pork shoulder. I am going to add a little back fat. What we want is a 70% lean to a 30% fat content for this sausage. And all we're going to do is we're going to cut our pork and fat in chunks or strips small enough to fit into the throat of our grinder. Maybe we'll do a video on which one's better, chunks or strips. Let me know if you want to see that experiment. I'm only going to be making 1 kilo, so once we have everything weighed out, we're going to put this into the freezer so that it can get partially frozen. Remember, under 34 degrees Fahrenheit is the ideal temperature. I shoot for 31, 32. Let's take a look at the spices. We've got salt, black pepper. We're going to be adding some white pepper. Now, I love this modernized version of it because we're going to be adding some Instacure #1, and we're also going to be adding just a tiny bit of a few different types of sugar. This sugar is called dextrose. It's a monosaccharide sugar that's going to be used to feed the bacteria to ferment this sausage. And this is a dark brown sugar that's going to add a unique flavor and help balance out some of these ingredients. We're also going to add a little minced garlic, which is totally optional. You can add it or not add it. And that's it for the spices. Let's look at the bacterial starter culture. Now, I do want to mention that originally, the Mennonite sausage did not contain a bacterial starter culture. But you got to remember, the meat that they were using was more than likely freshly slaughtered and butchered, as they were probably not buying discount meat from the local big box store. And so adding a starter culture and the nitrates that we added is going to help you make this sausage the safest way possible. So you could basically use any type of meat and end up with a safe product. To get the starter culture ready, all we're going to do is pour a little bit of it into a spoon and then add that to some distilled water. That is going to wake up the starter culture and get it ready for our sausage. In the description box below, there's going to be a recipe link, and it's going to have all the details, but if you have any questions, be sure to leave me a comment in this video. Our newly hydrated starter culture is going to hang out at room temperature for about 30 minutes, and then it'll be ready to use. As far as the starter culture pack, just put this in a bag, preferably a vacuum seal bag, and stick it back in your freezer. One thing to note about the starter culture is that we're going to be using this to ferment the sausage. In essence, we're going to be lowering the pH, and there's technically several ways to do that without a starter culture. One way is called encapsulated citric acid. This will lower the pH of your sausage, but if you add too much, it might make it too tangy. Another product is called Fermento. You can add this to your recipe, and it'll also lower the pH of your sausage. So there's a couple different ways to lower the pH of your sausage. In my opinion, adding a starter culture delivers the most flavor. But like I said, a couple different options in the event that you don't want to use a starter culture. Let's take a look at the meat. It's now partially frozen. Under 34 Fahrenheit, that's the magic number. I typically shoot for 30, 31 Fahrenheit, and this looks absolutely brilliant. Let's go ahead and give it a grind on a 6 millimeter plate. There we go. Absolutely perfect grind. It is not greasy and it is ready to get mixed. You do want to make sure that your meat is still under 34 degrees Fahrenheit when you mix it. Mine is, and so we're now going to go ahead and add our spices. If you're using a mixer like a KitchenAid, you're going to want to put your speed on low. No need to whip it. You're just going to very gently mix that meat. You don't want to create too much friction because that will raise the temperature of your meat. So nice and slow, make sure your meat is cold, and let's go ahead and add our starter culture. Let's just drizzle that on in there. And you know what? So far, pretty simple recipe. It's kind of like a cross between a sausage and a salami. I'm loving the idea that this is going to be fermented. We do want to mix this until it gets sticky, so you should be able to grab a handful, turn your hand upside down, and the meat will stick to the underside of your hand, just like this. This is a beautiful, incredibly sticky mixture. A lot of protein extraction. And that means we're going to get a really good bind for this Mennonite sausage. And for this particular sausage, that's what you're looking for. We're going to stuff this into our dedicated sausage stuffer. This is a 5-pound sausage stuffer that we got from the sausage maker. And using a sausage stuffer is going to generate the least amount of heat, which means you're automatically going to have a higher quality sausage if you use a dedicated sausage stuffer. All right, so while we're putting that meat in there, we're just making sure that there's no air pockets. We're compressing it down. And let's get that on the base and stuff this sausage. All right, our sausage has been stuffed. I have a little bit of meat that was left back in the hopper, and what I'm about to show you is technically not necessary. I just want to demonstrate what that starter culture does to the meat. We're going to be using this little piece of meat in my hand to test the pH. Now, like I said, you do not have to do this because for this sausage, pH is not super critical. The fermentation stage is just there to develop a little more flavor. But for the sake of demonstration, I am going to show you what the pH is after we ferment it. All right, so we're just going to wrap that little sample piece in some cling film and then just set it to the side. That's going to ferment along with our sausage. Not a big deal. When it comes to the sausage itself, I want these to be relatively long links, so I'm just going to twist 3 times forward and then make another link 3 times towards me, and then the last one 3 times forward. And you know, ideally, we'll pull one link out when we want a dinner using this sausage, and I think it should be perfect. We now want to poke out any air pockets and then just give the overall sausage a little prick. That's going to help that casing adhere to it quite nicely when we do give it a cook. And now we're going to let it ferment. To ferment the sausage, we're just literally going to let it hang out at room temperature for 24 hours. I am going to add that little sample piece, and then we're going to cover everything with cling film. That's going to keep the humidity high, but it's also going to keep, anything from getting on our sausage. And over the course of the next 24 hours, that starter culture is going to eat some of the sugar that we added. It's going to release lactic acid, and it will slowly start to drop the pH of this sausage. This process also develops the color, the aroma, and the flavor. It's going to be absolutely amazing. So we're going to let that hang out there overnight, and I want you to pay attention to the color. This is pre-fermentation. Now 12 hours later, look at the color. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, we do want to let this hang out for 24 hours, but this is also a smoked sausage. So during the last 12 hours of fermentation, I am going to smoke it. Now, you don't technically have to smoke it while you're fermenting. You can ferment first. You can smoke it once you're finished, especially if you live in a very cool area. I don't. So I typically like to ferment and smoke at the same time. We're going to be putting this in our Smokin' It smoker. I am going to add a little pan of water with a paper towel. And that paper towel is going to be slightly draped over the edges, and that's going to allow that moisture to wick, which is going to keep the humidity high inside this cabinet. Now, I am going to be cold smoking the sausage because I still want to develop that flavor over the next 12 hours of fermenting, and so no heat is applied at this step. The temperature should remain under 85 degrees Fahrenheit. When it comes to the type of wood used to smoke this sausage, we're going to be adding hickory, but truth is, you can add whatever your favorite smoking wood is. I'm using a cold smoke generator from Smokin' It Smoker because this is going to deliver the 8 to 10 hours of smoke that I need without increasing the temperature of my smoker, and that's exactly what you want. I'll put a link in the description box below if you want more information. All right, so once we get that fired up, I am going to turn that smoke down just a tiny little bit because what we're looking for is a nice steady flow of smoke. I don't want it to be billowing out of the top or anything like that. That could easily overwhelm this Mennonite sausage. So let's go ahead and shut this down. This is kind of what I'm looking at when I look at the top of my smoker, just nice steady stream coming out, a little translucent. And it's now been smoking for about
9 hours, give or take. A total of 24 hours have passed since we started the fermentation process. And let me just show you what the pH is. Now, remember, you do not have to do this. I'm just showing you for demonstration purposes. If you leave your meat out for 24 hours and you follow this recipe, everything will be absolutely beautiful. The pH of fresh meat, okay, is anything between 5.6 and 5.8. The older your meat is, the higher the pH goes. So if you have meat that has a pH of, let's say, 6.2 or 6.3, it's probably not super fresh. It might even smell a little funky. I'm using a pH meter by a pair of instruments, and let's test the pH 24 hours after we added that bacterial starter culture. And remember, a starter culture is nothing more than a collection of good bacteria to help ferment your meat properly. Think about it the same way you would think about adding yeast to bread. You technically don't need it, but it sure does make the process happen a lot easier and a lot safer. So let's insert that probe and check out the pH for this sausage. 4.9. There you go. So remember, the pH was originally 5.6 to 5.8. It is definitely lowered, which means we have acidified our meat. We have increased the flavor. It looks and smells amazing, and our Mennonite sausage is officially finished. Now, just remember, you don't need a pH meter. I'm just showing you this for demonstration purposes. If you follow this recipe the way that it's written, your sausage will come out amazing. So this is what our Mennonite sausage looks like. I'm going to separate the links. It's got a great smoky aroma. And at this point, you can freeze the links for later, or you could cook it up now, which is exactly what we're going to do. And how you cook this sausage is your business. You could cook it up any way you want. If you want to finish it in the smoker, if you want to grill it, cook it sous vide, the choice is yours. What I think we're going to do is pop these in the oven, cook them nice and gently. Remember, you still want to follow the same rules when it comes to cooking sausage. Gentle is the game. And I do want to slather these with a little barbecue sauce on the tail end of the cooking. I just got these two from PS Seasonings. I have not tried either one. They both look awesome. I think we're going to go with the cherry bomb for this Mennonite sausage. Obviously, this is totally optional, but I did hear this was a great way to enjoy this sausage. So let's go ahead and get the oven ready. The temperature in my oven is going to be fairly low, 250 degrees. I think that's the lowest I can get it. And that's it. During the last 30 minutes of this cook, we're going to hit it with a little cherry bomb barbecue sauce. And we're looking for an internal sausage temperature of anything between 150 and 155 F. Once you hit that target, this sausage is ready to eat.
Time to taste the Mennonite sausage. What do you think? Absolutely beautiful color, great bind, super juicy. Beautiful barbecue glaze on the outside. That's that cherry bomb barbecue sauce from PS Seasonings. It smells incredible, slightly acidic, a little smoky. Thank you, Dangerous Squid, for the recipe. Let's see how it tastes. This sausage is ridiculous, and I can't believe this is the first time I'm making it. Salt, pepper, garlic, that's the main flavor profile for this sausage. But fermenting this sausage the way we did takes this pork to a completely different level. So good. Just like this. Baked in the oven, little barbecue sauce. Incredible. Now, this is the first time that I'm trying that cherry bomb barbecue sauce from PS Seasonings, and I got to tell you, it is delicious. Another really popular way to prepare the Mennonite sausage is to cut it all up, place it into a casserole dish, an oven-safe dish, along with your vegetables and basically anything you want. Cover it and bake it till everything is done, nice and hot. When you pull it out, you've got a one-pot meal ready for the entire family. So the barbecue sauce is optional, although I do think that it really added to the flavor. And if you give it a try, at least do one link like that and then let me know what you thought. Thanks a lot for watching this video. If you have any questions about the Mennonite sausage, leave them in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like. If you want to win $300 worth of sausage making supplies, it's not too late. This week the sausage maker is giving away just that. Check the pinned comment of this video and I'll put the details on how you can enter to win. I think the drawing is tomorrow, so it's not too late, and I hope you win. If you're new to this channel, be sure to click that subscribe button and that notification bell. Although you are catching us at the end of a month-long sausage celebration, I'm going to put a playlist playlist right here at the end of this video so that you can get caught up, and you're going to want to stick around because we have got some absolutely amazing sausage-related content on the horizon. Thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.